Hey y'all, we are here to talk about the latest episode of the. Ooh, child, I don't even know where I'm at. We're here to talk about the latest episode of Married to Medicine, Season 10, Episode 2. We start off with Phaedra and Quad. We saw this on a teaser last week, and it's fun to see them together. I'm excited to see the dynamic because we get the clarification that Phaedra is more so close to Dr. G, but it seems like her and Quad have a fun relationship. So, I'm excited to see a little bit of that. Quad is dating, but, she won't tell us the man's name, but I do like that she was like, it's new. Like, what I'm saying? They're trying to see, so maybe down the line, at least we saw his face and like Phaedra, so. Also, an interesting part where Phaedra calls Benji a hilarious part because Quad is like, well, baby, who's Benji? Like, where's the dog? Like, who? And then this young man who's a butler or whatever the title was comes out. So I don't. We know Phaedra, y'all. So I'm just like, is this real? Like, is this somebody that's really a butler or was this just a thing? I guess I appreciate it for the TV quirk of it all, but we get into the tea now, though. So Phaedra's like, why haven't you been with the girls? And I'm assuming that this is after after Quad, finally started filming. And she's like, I had to take a break. So it's made to be about her, well, not necessarily from Quad, but like from an editing standpoint when they did the flashbacks. I feel like it's being painted out to be like, oh, well, last season didn't end so well. But I think there's much more to that. They start talking about Sweet Tea. And so, she's like, well, how did they meet? I was also wondering, did Quad know that? But clearly not. She asked Phaedra. And Phaedra tells her about the DM thing. Quad doesn't even really be messy about it. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. But she's listening and there's tea there and she could definitely jump into it. But she doesn't. So I'm like, So I'm watching. And then she goes on more and Phaedra's like, well, she's really close with Toya. And I think this is when we start getting the real context. And Quad's like, well, yeah, I'm sure she is. Like Toya hates me. And that's very true. So it does make sense that Toya has linked up with Sweet Tea. And I did agree. Y'all have been saying a long time that Sweet Tea and Toya favor in terms of looks. And I didn't think so. But when she was in the kitchen cooking with Dr. G, as we got to talk about next, she was looking like Toya. So I was like, okay, I get it. Speaking of Toya, Phaedra also tells Quad about the DUI, which Quad also doesn't get very turned up about. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking that Quad may have come into filming for this season knowing that the girls are potentially going to try her because that's what the setup was giving. And she's being very calm and level-headed about it, and I'm living for that. Because Quad is my Taurus sister, and we don't like to be played with. When we know we're being played with, then we bite. And we're going to bite hard. We're going to bite down to the white meat. But I like that she's not taking that approach. I'm appreciating it. So I'm living for that. She sums it up basically. And she's like, Toya has a personal vendetta against me, which Toya was asked about on Watch What Happens Live. And I was there for the live taping of it. And I still don't really remember what Toya said because, to be honest, it was some BS to me. And it felt kind of like a deflection. And, but Toya was basically saying Quad hasn't been a good person to her. I do agree that Quad throws shade at Toya, but everybody throws shade at Toya. So I feel like Toya kind of gets on Quad a little bit more for whatever reason, but I don't know. Again, I haven't watched all of Married to Medicine. My first season was when Quad was getting the divorce, so maybe I missed some bits and some pieces. But from what I have seen, I don't feel like Quad has been so terrible to Toya. That's my opinion. Quad does mention, without breaking the fourth wall, that, Heavenly took her back, and we've been getting this stuff in pieces. So we found out last week on, Carlos King and Heavenly did a recap of Potomac, but more so Married to Medicine. And Heavenly revealed that she was the one that brought Sweet Tea on the show. And Carlos asked her, like, oh, you're supposed to be friends with Quad, so how did Quad take that? And she's like, I think that she's going to come to understand. So that means to present day, Quad still feels some type of way about it, which she rightfully should. But I feel like what Heavenly was saying was, but she's going to realize, it's good for the show at the end of the day, and I'm still Team Quad. So, I like Heavenly, and I can understand what she's saying. I think that Heavenly is very, she's very much so like, I want us to have a good show. Like, she always gives that energy. Like, I want us to have a good show. I want it to be interesting. You know, Married to Medicine is kind of an underdog. A lot of people don't necessarily watch it, but it's actually extremely good. It's always been consistently good. And she just knew that this was going to be a good opportunity. And also, she gives more context of, you know, the network or whoever the powers that be were. I guess they were playing with Quad's episodes. She's saying, so meaning, I guess, that they were giving her less and less episodes, and I guess it felt like they were trying to phase Quad out. So in Heavenly's mind, which I believe, she was saying, you know, from a strategy standpoint and from a get money standpoint, if we bring Sweet Tea on the show, we don't need her if we don't have Quad. At the end of the day, ain't nobody interested in watching Sweet Tea unless Quad is there. So bringing her there was more incentive to have Quad around. So I can understand that as well. But also, as I said in the first episode, I think that they thought that was going to be the tea, but I don't think that Quad fed into it the way that they thought she was going to. Like I just said, right? Like, she's very level-headed about this stuff. She's not giving them what they were expecting. So it could have created a situation where we didn't get the tea that we wanted to get. Kudos to Quad, you know, being smart, being strategic, being a Taurus, because I would have done the same thing. But we're still getting some tea that we didn't expect, and that, you know, Sweet Tea and Dr. G's relationship is quite interesting. So it's an interesting thing. So, you know, that's the Heavenly side of things and the production, TV, get money side of things. But also from a personal standpoint, I can definitely understand Quad and having, you know, an issue with any of the ladies, right? Like, because who knows what type of involvement they had with her coming on the show. We know obviously Heavenly brought her, so yes, Heavenly. But then, like, how do you feel supported by the other ladies in the group? So I think that that's the true issue of why Quad had not been filming and she was not around, and it makes perfect sense to me. But back to what was happening in the scene. Basically, Phaedra is explaining, you know, Heavenly says, you know, she hasn't talked to you and she feels like you've deserted her. And that's when Quad brings up, well, Heavenly sent me this picture. And it was like a picture of her. They showed it in an Instagram post, but I'm going to assume it was the picture not on Instagram. Like, that would mean to me that Heavenly screenshotted her Instagram and sent it to Quad. I don't think that happened. I think it was just the picture portion, not the Instagram part. I think they were just trying to show us that the picture was subsequently posted on Instagram. And it is a photo of, you know, Heavenly out with Sweet Tea, and the captions like, you know, getting to know a new friend or whatever. So bringing all that together, right? That's their way of explaining it on the show so they don't break the fourth wall. But as we just discussed, it's because Heavenly brought Sweet Tea on the show. We move on and we're getting the real tea as it pertains to Sweet Tea. And, you know, she's at home and her and Dr. G for a moment get into a heated discussion where they're talking about the wedding. And basically she wants him to be more involved. And he's like, well, I'm involved enough. I'm paying for it, right? And she's like, well, I'm helping pay for it too. But then he's like, well, what percentage? And she acknowledges that he's paying for 90%. And it seems like she's trying to ask for support. Seems like a nice lady, reasonable enough. But he's like, I don't see what I really need to be helping with. Like, he's like, this wedding was not supposed to be stressful, and now it's stressful, and I don't really know what other support you need from me, basically, besides financially. So they have a back and forth about that. We move on and see, you know, Jackie having an appointment with DeBrad, which is fun to see. I just kind of feel like we get that every season. Like, we always see Jackie with clients, of course, but then especially like a celebrity client, and it kind of gets old. I understand it's Married to Medicine, so we should definitely see them at work practicing medicine, but it just feels like more of the same. That's just my opinion, so I'm not really leaning into it that much, but great. It was funny. They also make a point to really highlight Jackie's new doctor that we saw her hire last season, so I'm wondering if down the line they would kind of like maybe facilitate her into the show in some way. But I'm also thinking, like, will Jackie hire her to work at her practice? So maybe she wants to keep it just like that, or maybe this was a thing to get the lady on the show. Like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Or maybe I also thought, like, maybe in a way, like, what if Jackie phases herself out of the show at some point and this becomes like her replacement or something? The possibilities are endless. I don't know, I was just wondering. We move on to Toya, and, you know, to get the funny part out the way, they're you know, they obviously have a very direct relationship with their kids, and they're having a sex talk with them. And Toya was asked about this on Watch What Happens Live, and she's like, you know, I talk to my kids. We have very direct conversation. And Eugene kikied about that, and he's like, you know, she talks to them like they're not like 12 and 13 or however they are. So that was cute. I personally never had a sex talk with my parents, but you know, that was a fun scene. And the real tea here is that Toya is doing this wine club thing. I think that she talked about it a bit at the reunion, I believe, like last reunion, but I don't know. But she's talking about it. I'm not necessarily clear on what it is, but she is, I believe, trying to establish that she does have some type of business, because obviously it has been a lot of talk in the show, and it was a ton of talk at last year's reunion. So I think that that's why we're talking about it, and she's going to be having this event and wine tasting for it. Phaedra and Toya go wedding dress shopping with Sweet Tea. You know, she's explaining why she invited those people, which is great. Give me some context, because it is a weird group. And she invited Toya, you know, because they're cool and they're getting to know each other. She invited Phaedra because Phaedra is close with Dr. G. So fine, whatever. And she, you know, she's highlighting that she's trying to get to know the group pretty well. And there's another lady there, but we'll get into that. While they're shopping, though, they did have some moments where, you know, Phaedra was talking about her booty being flat, which she talked about again later in the episode with Dr. G, and he did take up for his wife, or whoever she was for him at the time. And, you know, she's just making some jokes and some jabs here or whatever. And then Toya brings up, you know, that she needs to get her waist cinched in the dress, so she says the girdle. So I understand how those things will make Sweet Tea uncomfortable, so that was not great. And then the other ladies that's there, you know, while Sweet Tea is changing, Phaedra's like, well, how do y'all know each other? And the lady's like, well, we met online, you know, and they start talking about this support group for dating older men. So automatically I'm thinking like, this is a group that you were in before and y'all discussed like meeting older men. But she confirms that she wasn't in it until she met Dr. G. And then they're asking the lady like, well, how many older men have you dated? And she didn't want to tell. So I'm like, okay, several. They get some kikis in there, as if the body stuff wasn't enough. They get some kikis about it being a sugar baby group. And that's it's interesting. You know, I don't want to judge it from the outset, because again, it's not like she was in it allegedly before she met Dr. G, so it wasn't like a scheming club. But I don't know, just because she didn't use it like that allegedly, I don't know that that's not what it is, right? Like, what other type of support is there? Maybe I need to hear a little bit about that. I'm open. Phaedra gets a cute little joke in there. She's like, well, I don't want to date older men because I'm not a nurse. You know, so I don't. Woo! So right before Toya's party, you know, Eugene gives her a warning that the ladies may be shady, so she should be prepared for that. I thought that was interesting. You know, typically, obviously, we get the read in there that Eugene is being woman's business. That's been a critique before about him. So, you know, but that aside, I thought it was interesting that he was giving that insight. Like, you know, they may be shady towards you, so watch out. But, you know, that's him being a supportive husband. So, you know, fine. Well, they get to the party, and while she's like introducing to the group and talking about what it is or whatever, which again I'm still not super clear on, but you know, she's saying they're gonna be doing, she's discussing whatever the hell, and she's like, I'm kind of drifting off, and they're like, well, are you drunk? And I guess she wasn't drunk. I don't know if we got more context behind that. But that's our segue to Sweet Tea, who speaks up, and good for her, because she's new, she's getting into the scene, she's ready to go. But it was authentic. You could show she was upset. And she's like, you know, well, you wasn't drifting off, you and Phaedra at the dress shop yesterday, like, y'all were mean. You know, and she calls them out for the critiques that they were making about her, and the jokes and the digs, and they talk about the body stuff first, and they seem to be very defensive about it, like they're not really taking accountability for it. They're kind of like, well, girl, yeah. So I'm like, ooh, I don't know if she's gonna make it through. So she's upset, but it feels like they're just like being them. We know that that's how this group is, baby. So they're just kind of like, girl, like, eh. And then she even gets further into it. She's like, and all of y'all really upset me with the whole Quad thing. Like, y'all were at my party, and everybody kept bringing up Quad, and they really didn't give a damn about that. You know, only Jackie apologized for it. Everybody else was just kind of like, so she's irritated. Like, I could tell that she was upset, obviously, because it happened, but also she's bringing it to the group, and they're kind of like, well, as this group would. So the tea is there. Again, like, we didn't even need Quad for there to be tea on Sweet Tea, and I don't mean it like that, because I love Quad. I'm glad Quad is here, but I'm glad that Quad isn't engaging, and it's not a Quad versus Sweet Tea thing. It's really like a Sweet Tea, and the group is really kind of on her ass, especially Heavenly, who brought her into the group. So I'm like, Simone, is asking her, and she's like, you came in a little feisty, which I felt like was gaslighting. Like, you came in feisty. I feel like she meant well though. Like, we're filming a scene, but she's like, you came in a little heated, so obviously you're taking this personally. It's really bothering you. So what's wrong? Like, let's go have a chat about it. And they go talk, and Sweet Tea's basically saying, it's a lot trying to integrate in this group, and I don't have any support for myself. I don't get it from home, and Gregory's not helping me with this wedding, blah blah blah. And Simone chops it up to what I think is fair. She's like, if you want to help with the wedding, marry a woman, first of all. And then with the group, it's a tough group. Again, can't break the fourth wall, but I think that this group is very clear all the time that they're filming a show. It's real stuff. Like, they gonna kiki and cackle and get on each other's ass, but I think all of them are in agreement and know we're filming a show, and you have to have tough skin. We may not like each other, and some of these things may go below the belt, but we're filming a show, baby. You got to roll with the punches. And that's the conversation I feel like she was having with Sweet Tea. And I thought it was interesting. I feel like maybe there was some stuff that we didn't see, but also Heavenly was really going in on Sweet Tea in the recap last week with Carlos King, like going in. And she did acknowledge that, her and Sweet Tea had some friction, because basically Sweet Tea would open up to her, and, Heavenly would kind of use it against her in the group and call her out on stuff and be on her ass. But she's like, girl, like, it is what it is. Again, Heavenly's mindset is, we're working at the end of the day, like, and I'm team quad. Like, we cool, but I'm still gonna do my job, and I'm still team quad. And obviously that's not working for Sweet Tea. And Simone even says, what I thought was interesting, again, maybe we didn't see anything, but I think it hits harder because Heavenly brought her in the group and she's cracking jokes on her. And Simone says, obviously she's like, basically Sweet Tea is the Cinderella and Heavenly is the evil stepmother. So I think that there's some valid points made there, because like, damn, Heavenly, you did bring this lady on, and now you playing with her. But we are working, baby. We're at work. While they're gone, though, Heavenly looks at Phaedra, and she's like, every time I look at you, I think about Quad. So where's Quad, girl? And then I'm back to thinking again, like, so was Quad filming or what? Like, I really want to, it doesn't matter, really. But for the behind the scenes, I just really want to know, is this being edited to make it seem like Quad was filming at the time and she still actually wasn't? Because I'm like, Quad can't be filming because she ain't popped up. Not yet, not with the group. So I'm feeling like there's some tea there. And without breaking the fourth wall again, they're basically, we don't know what's going on. We don't know why she's not here. But I think they know Sweet Tea is going to play a part in it. And they may know the Heavenly Tea, right? And so Jackie says, kind of on the slick, like, I'll just say this, right? If I get a divorce from my husband, y'all can't be friends with him. Basically highlighting, like, even when Dr. G was off the show and Quad was there, they talked about Dr. G a lot. And the men were always clear that they were still close with Dr. G. Like, he was always up discussion. And now he's back on the show, and his new wife is being brought on by Heavenly. So I think Jackie's like, we don't know for sure what the issue is, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with the fact that we still kicking it heavy with Dr. G. Like, hello. But we don't know. We'll wait and we'll see. They come back to the group, hunky dory, and they play this fun game called Boxed Wine, which I thought was funny. It was hilarious. I forgot what the results were, but whatever. We didn't pay too much attention to it. Fun game. At the end, Sweet Tea, she's obviously still irritated. I'm wondering how she played that game. Felt pretty lengthy, but she still kind of seemed irritated afterwards. She's like, I'm ready to go. Maybe it was flipped. Maybe they played the game. This is me thinking. Maybe they played the game before she had that tough conversation, because it was weird to see her back irritated after a game. So, I don't know. That's just me thinking. But, she's like, I'm tired. I'm ready to go. I'm leaving. She gets up to leave. She got a tag on her dress. And I'm like, they are playing with her. Like, the ladies are playing with her, and the editors are playing with her. Okay? Like, they already know. And I kind of feel bad for the girl, but I was about to say she's a Reed. I think there's a Reed there. I don't want to call her a Reed, because she seems like a nice girl, okay? And she seems like she done signed up for something that she don't really know about. But I haven't seen her come on and be messy, so I don't want to be messy towards her, because they're already doing that. So I ain't going to call you no Reed, Sweet Tea. I think that there was a Reed waiting in the wings for you. That's just how I feel, but we going to see. Interestingly enough, Heavenly is, I hated that wig, but she was playing nice with Toya, told Toya she was proud of herself. Toya clocked that in the confessional, though, and she's like, she's a hater at the end of the day. That's what she calls Emily. I'm gonna leave that one alone. At the end of the episode, we get a link up between Phaedra and Dr. G, and she is being a bit of a mess, something that I wouldn't like if my name was Sweet Tea. And, she's basically saying, are you sure you want to get married again? Like, if it were me, I can't help but put on my little accent when I talk about Phaedra. If it were me, I don't know. I don't think that I would get married again. And, he does tell her, I think that you're being a little cynical. At the end of the day, like, why wouldn't I want to get married? They do talk about the age difference, and he does admit that it was an issue for him initially. And she's like, why? Did you feel like a predator? And he's like, well, no, I didn't. I don't know if I was the prey or the predator. And I'm like, so this ain't going well for Sweet Tea, because now it's a production thing, a cast thing, and your man. Dang. And that damn tag on that dress. Why that tag do you like that, girl? And Frazier even asked him, like, well, do you have a, they talked about this on Watch What Happens Live as well, do you have a prenup? And I guess it's going to play out. I don't even know if they have one to this date. I'm not sure. But, she's like, Sweet Tea made some interesting comments. So I just want to know, like, did he get a prenup? And he says that he brought it up to her and she's open to it. So, we shall see. But I feel like he does clean it up, right? Like, I guess he's saying he felt that way, but like he feels safe with Sweet Tea. He feels like they're friends, and like basically Phaedra made sure to get this out in clear text. He didn't feel safe with Quad, and that told me like he didn't feel safe with his money with Quad. He didn't trust Quad. He didn't feel like they were friends, whereas he feels differently with Sweet Tea. But yeah, but at the end of the day, you should. I'll keep referencing you. You should really watch the recap that Dr. Heavenly did with Carlos King, because she also said that like Sweet Tea has opened up to her and said that Dr. G will say stuff to Sweet Tea like, you're becoming Quad, you act like Quad, like you're reminding me of Quad, because she's like, obviously it's her first season, she's gonna have a glow up on TV just like anybody does, and she's hanging around that group, so she's gonna get that type of influence, and she's probably gonna start feeling herself, rightfully so, like, girl, do your thing. And I guess that's not working for Dr. G. Heavenly saying like Dr. G likes a woman that's gonna basically do what he say and cook and clean and feed him, and she is now doing her own thing. She's also a young woman. She's 31 or 32. So she's coming into herself, and there's a potential that Dr. G is not going to like that. And I say potential loosely because he already done told his wife that she remind him of his ex-wife. Baby, the way ain't no prenup, ain't no planning the wedding. Because after you done told me that, I would already have both feet outside on the welcome mat. It's a goodbye mat now because I'm packing my things and I'm up out of here. This relationship ain't gonna work if that's the type of communication we're having. If that's how you feel, we don't even got a beef about it. There's no negativity, but like obviously this ain't gonna work. There's some healing that needs to occur. And this ain't right. We'll see how it plays out. We got a preview. We keep getting a preview of, I guess, her, Sweet Tea's bachelorette party, and we finally get Quad. Can't wait to see it, as brought on by Phaedra, and there's a big blowout. So let's see, y'all, and I'm excited to see it when we get there. And unfortunately, I did not get shown on Watch What Happens Live, but they rarely show the crowd. But I was there, so and it was fun. Not my two favorite people, like Ashley and Toya, They were lovely to see in person, and they looked good. I will say that. But on television, not my faves. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one.